Okay, now for my long-awaited video on air assist. I've been talking about this for the last couple episodes. I wanted to do as much as I could the definitive guide to air assist, kind of for diode lasers, specifically for the Ortur Laser Master 3, because it has this handy-dandy little place where the air hose goes and is supposed to come out. You can kind of see it down here, and then it goes in down through this nozzle. And what I was experiencing is that was not working very well. And I had originally had this, and this is the same machine that Ortur was selling with their machines. And when you used it, I was getting dust on the lens, and it just wasn't working as good, either for cutting or engraving. And I was sad because that seemed like such a perfect solution. You just stick the thing in there and you're done. And it was like, that's part of the reason I bought the machine to begin with. Because I realized how important air assist is when it comes to laser engraving, laser cutting specifically. But I would love to improve engraving as well as far as the dust. Let's see if I can do that at all. So also I wanted to mention Ortur did come out with their own new air assist. And I've told you guys before that I was not happy with how long this thing took. They obviously didn't have it in stock when I ordered it expedited. And it took like 3 weeks to get to me. But I was so not disappointed when I finally got it and used it. This thing is amazing for the price. And I think it's probably the best deal out there. It hands down blows away this thing, and the price difference isn't that much. Now, this is super heavy. It has rubber feet on the bottom. Now, just so you know, I'm not sponsored by Ortur. I paid for all of this stuff on my own dime. And that's why, if you go back, you can see I'm pretty harsh on Ortur when they deserve it. But in this case, this thing is rock solid and very quiet. It is half as quiet as this thing and about 3 times as powerful. And it's just easier to use. You have the air, you just plop the air hose in there. It's so nice. I also just bought the Z-axis. I told you guys if this thing works for another week solid, that I'm going to get the Z-axis, and it did. And that should be arriving in a couple of days. So on to the tests. What I found, and you guys can back me up on this one. First, let's take a look at what I think is the worst of all of them. Air assist with no nozzle, actually. The air assist with no nozzle, so without this, I thought was the absolute worst. And now when I mean air assist, I mean going through their little hole here and down through theirs with the nozzle on it and the protective cover. To me, that was absolutely the worst. Now, they don't say to use it without the nozzle, so that's fine. It just so happens that the second worst was actually with the nozzle, using their air assist. I'm using this, this, and their cartridge, just the way that they would say to use it. And in my opinion, it's terrible. I mean, and you can look at it yourself. Air assist with nozzle. We'll take a picture of it, so hopefully I'll take a picture of all of these so that we can get a better look. Now, this one here looks like it's ready to come out, but I would have to push pretty hard to get it to come out. I did try. You can see they're not quite coming out in the back, but it's pretty close. So that's the one part, is the cutting is similar to, unfortunately, no air at all, and my upgraded air assist, which is actually this one. But we'll get into that. Now, unfortunately, I put some oil on this because I've already made this video, but I did it with a macro lens and it looked terrible. So I am redoing this. But as you can see, even though I wiped all of these off, I did a first test without wiping them off, but I can't go back and do that now. You can see with no air, this charring is really heavy. But if you know your settings and you pick some sort of mid-grade settings, there isn't a lot to say badly about this. With no air, your engravings look pretty good. Your cuttings are pretty good. You get more charring, sure, than my air assist, but overall, it looks pretty good. So no air, as long as you know your settings, is going to be pretty good in my opinion. Now, I tried both. So not only did I put their air assist down the top here, but I also used the Diode here, and I put that onto my own, and just to see what would happen. Now you can see you're not getting a lot of burning. I'd say the only downsides of this one is you do get a lot of dirt that sprays across the top, and that's hard to get off. Now maybe with some sort of compressor, as soon as it comes out, maybe you could get most of that. I don't happen to have a compressor, and that would be a good test as well. If somebody wanted to run a compressor down the top of this with their nozzle and show me the results compared to not, I would love to take a look at that. But again, the cutting, not any better. And yeah, overall, it looks pretty good with both. Now, I did this one with my air and the cheap pump, so this one. And then I took the cover off. I took this cover off, no nozzle, of course. And, you know, looks pretty decent. But the cutting was not great. A lot of it didn't come out. And so this is the downside of the less powerful machine. It actually worked worse than no air. But if you like this look compared to the air, you know, the less charring at all speeds, this is still a better way to go. This is what I call my air sideways. So of course, all of these, I don't have this nozzle on. It's useless because I'm not using the top of this. But I made a sideways, so it's kind of bent here. And I wanted it not to be necessarily pushing down into the groove, but to be blowing the air aside, just to see what that would do. I just wanted to kind of see, and it works very well. The cutting was fantastic, just as good as my air. Everything looks pretty good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. Again, I think it blows some of the dust, and so you may get a slightly cleaner, even though you get all this charring, it might look slightly cleaner using no air. And then last but not least, I wish I hadn't oiled this because it is the best. It cut the best. You can see even some of these that did not even close to cut out on the rest of them, almost cut out when I used this nozzle. So I put this right here. And instead what this does is it pushes the air almost directly down with the cut. And all I did was hot glue it to the side of the cartridge and then made a little hole here where this fits down. And what I did is I put on the nozzle so that I could see pretty much where it was going to aim. And then I bent this according to that. Now, if you want to do this on your own, you can just go and get some of this pipe from your hardware store. In my last video that I made about air assist, I did mention the size of this. I can't remember exactly what it is. But what I would suggest is that you go get one of these. Now, this came with my Jinmitsu Jinsoku. It actually came with it. And what this does is you've got on one side here, you've got where you can just stick in the pump, kind of like that. So it's the same size as this. You can measure that. And the other side fits directly right onto this size pump. So if somehow you could get one of these and then just go match it up with your brass pipe, that would probably be ideal, because this makes it so easy to just put on and take off your air assist, which you may want to do just for cleaning your cartridge or whatever, your module. Then you could just stick it on here, hot glue this to the side of your module, and it'll stay there forever. I put some tape on it like this, and it's just fine. The only reason I took it off was for this test. So I'll just glue it back on here in a little bit, and that's where it'll stay. In my opinion, it was the best way to go. Now, sometimes maybe you use no air, I can just turn it off, but overall, it just seemed like the best way to go. And all I did was just bend this pipe very carefully and make it contour to where the laser beam was going. And that seems to be the way to go. Now, what I've noticed, and with K40s and regular CO2 lasers, it seems the same. One of the issues with air assist is it comes through the side, and then it comes right where the lens is. And then there's usually a chamber here. And then it comes to a point, a little distance away. Well, what you're doing is creating pressure right here and some sort of vortex right near your lens. And for some reason with this one, it seems to make the lens dirty. But I think just in general, it just creates pressure or lack of pressure right near where the lens is. And people break lenses, and it just doesn't seem to work as well. So when you do it externally from the side, and then, maybe get it to go as close to down as possible and close to the cut, it just seems to work. And you know what? I'm very happy to be wrong. I want to see other people do tests on this, and maybe we can approve it. I would certainly like to have an air assist that also helps me out with engraving and makes it look even better. And I tried to do that here, and so far, failure. So, I mean, this does look way cleaner, that's for sure, but I'm calling it a failure. I'm not happy with the engraving yet with air assist, but I think there are ways to improve it for sure. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. Certainly the cutting is better, and I do a lot of cutting. This is a 10 watt, and I still end up doing a lot of cutting of 1/4 inch, and it works really well. I do use a paintbrush, this brush, and a little magic eraser usually to clean these off. And that's kind of all she wrote. This is a never-ending process for me. I'm going to continue to try and do better and better with the air assist, but right now, I would suggest this method, maybe on your diode laser or CO2, and certainly on the Laser Master 3. All right, I hope you learned something here, and just, hey, let me know what you'd like to try, what you think I did wrong, what we can do better, and I will see you in the next one.